An epidemiologist is pretty much a disease detective, and we had one on the CMR COVID Spotlight show where we've learned some really valuable information. I do recommend everyone watch the entire show, which is available on the Cayman Mall Road Facebook or YouTube page. However, if you don't have time to watch the entire show, I did pick out a few highlights from the show, and here it is.
The doctors and the physicians tend to have 90 to 95, 100% vaccination uptake, and the kind of further you go down the education chain, the more you see the vaccination rates drop. So nurses will typically see 50 to 70% vaccination uptake, and then when you go down to the other support staff, the assistants, the aides, you'll see less than sometimes 20 to 30% vaccine uptake. And, there's a variety of factors at play. Some of it is that we tend to speak to the level of a physician about education for vaccines and the value, and we throw out terms like efficacy and effectiveness. We tend to talk over some individuals, and we're not messaging well enough at the education level that's understandable and relatable for some of the other staff. Some of it's cultural, some of it's general distrust for the authority, or they don't want to have to follow instructions. So there's a vaccine resistance is a very complicated topic, and there's a variety of reasons, but really one of the stronger predictors across almost any field is your general level of education, and we have to do a better job in public health of identifying that and working to speak to those populations better. It's right. Definitely something the entire public health community has to recognize and do a better job on.
Yeah.
The vaccine is one way you're going to get immunity, and the other way you're going to get immunity is if you get sick.
Right.
And at some point, everyone will probably have either of those. And it's going to come down to the pace at which either of those immunity types start to go away. If either of those things start to go away while we still have virus that's capable of making people sick again circulating, then you have the chance of cases to increase again and another wave to come through.
So some people I know are saying, well, I probably got COVID from things like gas pumps, door handles, other high-touch surfaces. Like, what's the likelihood of that happening?
Yeah, we really don't see that that surfaces or food items or things like that are a major player in the way that COVID spreads in the community. The virus, when it lands on something like a gas pump or something like that, it doesn't really live for that long. And most of the time, when you're touching that type of stuff, it's just on your hands, your fingers. It does not get into your body that way. It is why we tell people to remind themselves to wash their hands. You don't want to be putting dirty hands anywhere. But really, the main way that the virus spreads is by being around people that are sick and breathing in the air from someone that's infected. We don't really see transmission occur really in almost any other way in any significant numbers.
There's such a thing as any vaccine being 100% effective. How do we eradicate other diseases? Like, how did we get there? Is it just because of the high vaccination numbers, or was that particular vaccine 100% effective or somehow better?
Actually, it's I'm sure we're going to transition to contact tracing, but it's a combination of the use of vaccines that are very effective but not perfect, right, and then aggressively doing case identification and contact tracing when those cases occur. So for illnesses like smallpox, polio, measles, that we've really done a great job in the United States of either completely eliminating or nearly eliminating. It's a combination of the use of vaccines with a strong public health system to identify cases and identify contacts and make sure that you stop the transmission chain for those diseases. Understanding variants, it gets very complicated very quickly. And so I'm going to do my best, but variants occur because there's lots of different types of proteins, and the structure of the virus is actually made up with different types of proteins. And based on the way that those proteins have changed or evolved, if they change in a significant way, enough that it's different from its ancestor or where it came from, then we start calling it a variant. And so these things are happening all the time. The viruses are constantly changing, and we really only start kind of watching it when it starts to have characteristics that appear to be different enough to change either the clinical presentation, so maybe someone gets sicker because of this change, maybe someone gets sicker for longer or quicker, maybe it actually is a change that makes someone who's been vaccinated not respond to this now type of the virus. And we've seen different parts of different viruses have some of those characteristics, but not all of them. And with the mu variant, the characteristic that has become concerning for scientists studying it is it does appear that it's a virus that escapes the vaccines that we've developed right now. Having vaccine immunity from someone who's gotten vaccinated may not protect you as well against this variant. So just because the virus has that characteristic doesn't really tell us a lot about whether it's going to show up in large numbers or even, really play a major role in any one city or jurisdiction. So I like to look at, what these are doing over time. And right now, this is a very new variant. We're certainly monitoring it, and I'm sure every jurisdiction, at the state, national, and global level is kind of paying attention. And it really comes down to, does the variant have enough of a characteristic that starts allowing it to spread from one person to another in significant numbers that really have to change the way that we're thinking about it? And that's, to go back to the Delta virus, the reason it became such a big news story is because it was able to displace the variant we had before. It overtook previous variants and kind of pushed it out of the way and said, I'm the only one that's going to spread around anymore. And so now we had to deal with the fact that it was the one that was spreading all over. I personally don't think we've seen enough to show that the mu variant has the capability to do that, but that's what epidemiologists like myself and lab technicians are doing, is paying attention, seeing if we do see that those numbers, it shifts in any way. About 85% of the deaths each week are unvaccinated. About 15% have been vaccinated, and 85% of the deaths are unvaccinated. And when you look at the age difference, you're significantly younger if you're unvaccinated. You're in the ICU younger. You're in the general hospital younger, and you die younger if you're unvaccinated compared to the vaccinated population. Some of those deaths that occur in vaccinated individuals are elderly. They're cancer patients. They have other health issues, but the unvaccinated are still 85% each week right now in Florida of the deaths.
Let me know if you have any follow-up questions. You can connect with me on Facebook or Instagram at PIOKevinW, or you could WhatsApp me at 407-267-8402.